Our story begins in Russia, with a boy named Sergei. He is sitting with his mother and brother by the river, and they are having a lovely time together. He climbs a tree and boasts to his family that he can do this, feeling happy. Suddenly, a German plane flies overhead. His mother calls out loudly for her children to hide in the bushes so that no German soldiers see them and kill them. But Sergei, who is 6 years old, says he is not afraid of the enemies. He takes out his slingshot and aims at the plane, throwing a stone with it. Something strange happens, and he succeeds in blowing up the plane. Looking around, he finds that his slingshot has disappeared and realizes it was all a dream. He wakes up from the nightmare, calling for his mother because he is anxious. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door of their house. Sergei gets up and opens it, thinking it's his mother, but it turns out to be one of the neighbors. She enters the house, frightened and anxious, reassuring Sergei and thanking God that he is still alive. She brings bad news. His family has been killed. The child cannot comprehend what the woman is saying and cannot believe that something like this has happened to his loved ones. He tells her that he will stay at home and wait for his mother to return. The woman tells him that the Germans attacked and killed his family, and he must flee. Suddenly, soldiers appear around the house, forcing him to escape quickly through the window. She tries to jump after him, but the German soldiers shoot at her and kill her. Sergei is left alone, with no family or friends to turn to. As he escapes from the house and moves away, he sees his neighborhood burning in front of him due to the German soldiers. He cries out and keeps calling for his mother, running away from the place quickly. After a while, he finds himself in the middle of the forest, feeling alone and scared, calling for his mother to come and take him, because he is lost. Sergei sleeps alone in the forest at night, in the dark. The next morning, Sergei wakes up and drinks water from the river. Suddenly, he sees German soldiers passing by, who do not notice him. He realizes they will kill him if they see him, so he quickly hides inside the roots of a large tree. He is frightened when he sees a big snake moving beside him, but he remains silent and does not run away, being more afraid of the soldiers than the snake. The soldiers sit by the river, light a fire, eat, and leave their leftovers behind. When they leave, Sergei approaches the spot where they were sitting and eats the scraps they left. By the end of the day, the child is exhausted and hungry, having not eaten a proper meal for 2 days, wandering through the forest without any destination. Along the way, he finds some wild berries, squats down to eat them, but suddenly there's an explosion behind him that makes him fall. Dazed, he walks on, feeling as if someone is following him due to the shock of the explosion. In such a situation, he picks up a stick that resembles a rifle and talks to what he imagines is chasing him, telling it that he is not afraid and that he has a weapon. He walks on, falls to the ground, and loses consciousness. After a while he is asleep, 2 soldiers pass by and take him to the Russian camp. There, he meets the commander of a Russian army battalion named Kuznetsov, who is waiting for his men to return safely from the patrol. Sergei, who is injured from what he has been through and from lack of food, approaches the soldiers. He tells them he is on their side, and they comfort him. Sergei introduces himself and shakes hands with the soldiers, who laugh at the child's innocence. He greets the commander with complete innocence, waiting for a response. The soldiers become attached to the child and love him, offering him water and food. Even the commander himself cares for the child. Later, Sergei goes to the hospital, where a nurse named Katya takes care of him. She is impressed by Sergei's personality. He asks her to draw a tank on his wounds because he wants to be a soldier when he grows up. He plays with the injured soldiers in their beds and admires the commander's gun and badge. He keeps talking to the commander, who responds and gives him the gun to play with. Sergei shows him the drawing of the tank on his belly, saying that he will be a fighting soldier when he grows up. As time passes, his wounds heal, and the nurse asks the commander to keep the child in the camp. However, he refuses, saying it's not safe for the child, and he wants to send Sergei to an orphanage to take care of him. The soldiers spend their free time playing with him in the hospital and become attached to him, bringing him food from their families. They let him play with their binoculars. One day, a soldier approaches the commander, pleading for him to let Sergei stay in the camp. The soldiers have grown fond of the child and don't want him to leave, as he lightens their burdens during the war. But the commander remains firm in his decision to send the child to the orphanage for his safety. The next day, the Germans attack the Russian camps, and many Russian soldiers are injured. A vehicle comes to take Sergei to the orphanage. the commander bids farewell to the child and gives him a wooden toy gun as a gift. Sergei hugs the commander, telling him he is worried about his safety. The commander's heart is touched by the child's words, and he changes his mind, deciding to adopt Sergei as his own son. That night, the soldiers are very happy because the child will stay in the camp with them. They make him a military uniform. The next day, the commander wakes Sergei up and gives him the military outfit. He puts it on, looking very happy and resembling a real soldier. He runs around the camp while the soldiers joke with him. Suddenly, German planes appear and bomb the soldiers, prompting the Russian soldiers to move quickly and hide Sergei in a safe place as they go to fight the Germans. Afterward, the number of injured soldiers increases, and Sergei wants to find a way to help them. He goes to fetch water and gives it to the injured. One of them has an injured eye wrapped in bandages and asks Sergei to read a message sent from his family. Sergei tries to help but can't read, so he makes up a story, telling the soldier that his cow is safe on the farm. The injured soldier replies that he doesn't have a cow, looking puzzled. Another injured soldier responds, joking that they should take the child seriously. Then, Sergei reads the other messages, inventing the contents from his imagination. The soldiers are delighted by his efforts to lighten their spirits. Meanwhile, the commander is talking to Katya privately, and it turns out they both have feelings for each other, though neither has confessed their love yet. After a while, Sergei speaks to the commander, who is now his new father, and tells him he considers himself a key soldier in the camp, introducing himself with military decorum. On their way, they come across a military station damaged by explosions. The commander teaches Sergei to raise his hat in respect for the souls of the martyrs at their place of death. The next day, Sergei insists on taking on a mission, and the commander assigns him the task of distributing messages to the soldiers. Sergei sets off to carry out his mission, making the soldiers happy with the messages, especially since he is the one delivering them, and they dance with joy. The following day, he goes to a place far from the camp alone with the military binoculars. While playing, he sees a man emerging and moving from a pile of straw. He quickly runs back to the camp to tell the soldiers what he saw. The soldiers think he might be imagining it, but they go with him to verify. They reach the haystack, where they notice movement. 2 German soldiers emerge from it, and the Russians capture them, bringing them back to the camp. They praise Sergei's intelligence, saying he is the reason for this success, and that he saved the lives of soldiers who could have been killed. That night, the commander is very pleased with him and shows him the official documents regarding his adoption of the child, making him his official son. He knows about the commander's feelings for Katya, and to reciprocate, he takes his father to her to confess his love. On their way, they notice her talking to another soldier alone, and they think she might be interested in someone else other than the commander. Shortly after, the Germans attack the base. This time, Sergei helps the soldiers with everything he has, delivering ammunition to those in the trenches. The soldiers tell him to return to a safe place, which is the tent, and not to come here because it's dangerous and he might get killed. Sergei goes back to the tent and notices that the commander and the soldiers are scared because their connection to the command has been cut off, and they can't reach them. A soldier goes to fix the broken wire amidst the battle, and Sergei follows him, only to find him injured and dying. He asks the dying soldier how to fix the wire, and after he explains the method, Sergei repairs it himself, restoring communication between the tent and the base. They request support, and thus, the 6-year-old child saves the lives of all those who were fighting because of his actions and bravery. Afterwards, the commander and Katya talk alone by the river. The commander finally confesses his love to her and asks her to be the child's mother. Katya is very happy about this, and she's about to respond when a soldier interrupts them, handing a message to the commander. It states that the battalion will relocate from the base to another place. The next day, the soldiers move to their new base, taking the child with them. However, on their way, they accidentally walk into a minefield. The Russian army vehicles explode, and the commander gets injured. Many soldiers, whom Sergei had a bond with and considered friends, die. He holds the commander tightly, fearing for him like a son. He cries in his father's arms as they carry the injured to the new base. Upon arriving at the new base, they meet the general in charge, who is impressed by Sergei's ambition and congratulates the commander on having such a smart son. The next day, the battalion is honored and receives a Medal of Honor, with the child among them. He accepts the medal, salutes, and pledges to protect the country and his loyalty. That night, the base is under bombardment, and the Germans attack. The commander is trapped under debris and cannot get out. The child cries out of fear for his father and tries to help, calling for other soldiers to assist him. They come to help the commander and manage to rescue him. The next day, Sergei visits his injured father in the hospital. Sergei's arm is severely injured as he was trying to save the commander during the attack. Sergei becomes an inspiration for the entire Russian army, feeling he has no family other than his army, his father, and Katya. He moves along with them through all the wars. In the end, the battalion moves to a new base and arrives in Poland with Sergei, who becomes known as the youngest warrior in the world. His story spreads as a historical tale and an inspiration for soldiers of all nationalities. The film is based on the true story of the heroic young warrior, Sergei. Subscribe to the channel to receive all the latest updates. Bye.